Welcome to Microscope. I'm your host, Scope News Kernersville Editor-in-Chief, Chris Agee. Well, we've got a great show today, but first, this episode is brought to you by Scope News Kernersville. Stay up to date on the news and events that matter with a fresh, independent look at your hometown. Scope News Kernersville provides locally owned, award-winning news coverage you can trust. Check it out today at scopenewsonline.com and follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, or YouTube. Well, this episode of Microscope is a little different. I originally interviewed our guest, Cameron Kirkman, for an article about the premiere of his debut film, Stories of Songville. But then I happened to run into him at Kyle's Coffee a few days later, and we ended up having a great conversation. He was kind enough to allow me to hit record, so you can take a deeper look at what this project really means to him. So check out the rest of the story over at scopenewsonline.com, and here's our impromptu chat. Enjoy. At what point did you realize maybe this is more than just a student film project, that I can actually go somewhere with this?
Yeah, it was definitely a vision that had in the very beginning. You know, even growing up, you know, it was the classic Legos. You know, you're playing with Legos, and then, you know, you have all these stories and stuff in your head as you're playing with them. And when I was younger, I was always into writing and all that stuff. And so, but I was terrible at describing things. And so when it came to like sharing my ideas to my parents, it would just come out. I was like onomatopoeia. I'd just be like, you know, and so it was always they were like, oh, cute, you know, okay, you know, so I really wanted to have these ideas come to life, but it was hard to do, you know, to describe it and all that stuff. And so finally, when, you know, making could be done on the iPhone, you know, it slowly began to, you know, become something that was tangible, graspable, graspable. So started out making, you know, films and all that stuff, you know, on the tablet, and then onto, you know, phone, and then slowly things developed, and then you know, there was potential for client, you know, and working with clients and all that stuff, and so that became kind of the income side of things. But then there was still that drive within me that was like, there's going to be a story that needs to be told, you know, and it's in here, and it's hard to say it without actually doing it. And so when this opportunity came along to work with this one guy, we were planning, we had everything mapped out. We wrote probably about 2/3 of the script that was going to be for this movie that we're going to do. Everything was working out, but we weren't lining up on the vision. And slowly over time, we were just like, we can't do this. And so I had to say, step out of it. And literally then, that's when I prayed. I said, Lord, I just carved out something that was supposed to be set for the next 2 years, and I just said no to it. So like, can you fill this up, you know, pretty fast? And literally that evening, my mom gets a text from this lady named Taryn Padiak, who did this drama camp and this writers camp previously. And when she had done the drama camp, that's when my sister was introduced to the group, and I recorded her performance. And so she saw me recording the videography side of things, and said, well, why don't you teach them how to do, you know, video stuff? And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, you know. Yeah. Like, I want to make movies, you know. Right. I want to tell stories. I don't want to tell them how, okay, push the button, and, you know, and here's the boom mic, press record, you know. I want to do more than that, but there was just doors that opened, and so much passion within this group of their creative writers, their, you know, artists at heart. And so when it came down to it, you know, we filled out the white people board 2 times over with story ideas and plots and things like that, and we just had to, it was just a matter of like kind of trimming it all down and getting it to what our focus was going to be for that year, and then that's how it came into a movie. So yeah.
And so I imagine there were some other people you worked with who this was kind of their first.
Yep.
So what was it like, kind of seeing everybody learn on the job and get something accomplished together, even though there wasn't a ton of experience behind it all? It
was difficult. It was super, super difficult. In fact, at one point, it was like 2 days into the film camp, and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this one more time. I was like, I don't know what I got myself into. I have no idea what I'm doing. It was my first time, you know, working on a film, you know, getting the actual production started and getting initiated and teaching it. All that stuff is very new territory for me, as well as for all the cast and crew as well. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't handle it. So we're doing 9 to 5, and we had 2 weeks to shoot an hour movie, you know, a feature length movie. And I was like, we can't do this. You know, it's impossible. But the theme for the year was faithfulness. I always put themes for the year. So I'll have like a single word that I put in, and I really wanted to understand what faithfulness meant. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to have a whole year devoted to just one word for the faithfulness, and part of that was like, it hit really hard when you get to 2 days into film camp where you're just like, I'm done, I don't want to have it, and then that word just comes in, faithfulness. What does it mean to be faithful? I'm like, I don't want to do it. And so I stepped forward, continued to do it, and then pushed through those hardships, and things worked out.
So 2 days in, I'm sure it was the first of several hardships that would come along the way. What is something that if you had it to do over again, and somebody who had made movies before had some piece of advice to tell you, what do you wish you had known before you made this one?
Put the camera on the tripod.
Okay. Simple enough.
Yes. We had a tripod and we had the camera there, but so many times we were rushed during production, and so we're just like, okay, just pick up the tripod with the camera and just move it around. But that became super difficult when it came into the post-production, which is all where you do all the visual effects and all the music and sound and all that stuff. But when it came to the visual effects side of things, and you've got a camera that's kind of moving around, it's hard to track items, or objects or explosions or lasers or whatever, to your objects moving around. Whereas if you had a tripod, you can just really just place them on like stickers. So there was a lot of, pre-production was long because you had to write the script and all that stuff. Prepare, find locations, call, knock on doors, begging them to, film in their locations. And then production was, had to be short because we had the 2 weeks. And then post-production was, many months, because of those things. There's a lot of things that we could have probably done beforehand that could have saved us a long time ahead.
Well, you mentioned the settings that we're going to see in the movie when it premieres. A lot of those are here in Kernersville. We're going to hope everybody reads the article that comes out about the movie too. But can you just tell us some of the landmarks in the movie that people in Kernersville might recognize?
Yeah. So a big one is the Candle Factory, which is Lighthouse Candle Factory. Mm-hmm. It's about 10 minutes from Kyle's Coffee, where we're at now. And they were super awesome. They just let us crash in and take over their candle factory for a little bit. And so it's kind of ironic because that's the villain's work camp, basically. So even though everyone's like in this sweltering heat and everyone's kind of depressed looking, they're actually making candles. So very, very bad guy like. And then our other locations being the Gibson House, which is a B&B, very fancy on the inside, very nice. It's got an old aesthetic to it, and that's where we open the movie. Our main character is eating dinner. I won't spoil it, but something, he's not able to finish his dinner. Something happens, and our other location where we filmed actually the majority of our scenes from the movie, as well as we actually even taught the film camp there, was Hillcrest Baptist Church, which is again probably about 15 minutes from here. From downtown, and they were super generous. They just let us, basically pretty much half of the production was there, filming down their hallways, inside each of their little rooms they have there, and one of the funniest ones is the friendship room, which is a big little council room, and we called that in our movie. That was the Crimson Chamber. That was the villains. Oh, okay. The villains, throne room, and so it was a little ironic that that's also called the friendship room in real life.
So we don't want to give away any spoilers, but you did mention that you see it kind of as Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings meets the Bible.
Right.
I have to ask a mild follow-up on that. So obviously this is an independent movie. There can't be a huge budget for making something like Lord of the Rings come to the screen. How did you? I mean, obviously those the settings that you mentioned around town add some backdrop. But what were some of the hard decisions you had to come up with to make it work?
Yes. So there's the story that's based on is in the Bible. Story of Daniel. And are you familiar with?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Perfect. So in those stories, you have this idea that the scope is a little bigger than how we took it in here. Even though we have spaceships and lasers and explosions and magic and all stuff like that, but the actual sort of scale of it, regarding amount of people and all that stuff, is you kind of get this large scale in the Bible, whereas ours we shrunk it down to a singular room. Case in point being the final showdown with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in Daniel. You have crowds of people, and the objective is for them to all bow to and worship this idol. In our movie, we didn't have thousands of people, so we really had to craft the story in a way that still made it compelling and bring that same intensity and suspense that you get from that same story, but bring it down to the confines of the Crimson Chamber or the Friendship Room. So they have to bow to that statue, within the confines of a small office as opposed to, a large seas of people. So.
Well, I mean, it sounds like something. I mean, it sounds like something that not just because you're local and this is a premiere, but it sounds like something that is a destination for people. So I hope you, if you're listening to this, hope you also check out the article. Before we go, Stories of Songville. Where can people catch it?
So you can watch it you can get tickets actually now at trekcinema4.com, or you can go to narrowwaypictures.com. That's the production website. Either way, you can click on tickets. They'll send you right over to Trex anyways. So you can go there, go to special events, click on your Stories of Songville poster that you see there, and invite your friends and family to watch it.
All right, do just that. Cameron, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate having you on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chris.
All right.